So Yerba Buena is our native perennial evergreen mint. It's got a square stalk and rough textured opposite alternate leaves. So like many mint family plants, those are the signature characteristics that you look for. And generally, mint family plants are not toxic, but that's a general rule. And as I said, it trails along the edges of the forest floor in these, kind of viney shoots that end up reattaching and rerooting in different spots. So often, if you'll go to harvest it, you'll see it rerooting and you'll see some new sprouts coming up. The Salish use this as a strewing herb, so because it's so aromatic, there's a lot of energetic medicine in that, but you can throw it on your floor. They would throw it on their floor and walk on it. And then you get all the pleasant aroma coming up. And there's been some studies recently on smudging with herbs that indicate that there's an actual antimicrobial effect in the room. So potentially by releasing volatile oils with a strewing herb or with another herb, you could disinfect the air of the area. I mean, those plague doctors, those plague masks with the long beaks, they used to stuff herbs in there, antimicrobial herbs, so that they would be breathing in those volatile oils when they were handling dead plague bodies as a preventative measure.
It is. Have you seen the plague mask?
Yeah.
Only on TV.
I was going to get some during COVID and wear them around, but I didn't do that. But anyway, yeah, I mean, there's a lot in the aromatics of herbs, and so it's an interesting field to try to explore. And of course, there's aromatherapy with people using essential oils, but you can use your herbs this way. And Yerba Buena is one. If I find it in the woods, I'll usually pick some up and I'll keep walking around rubbing it in my fingers with my nose, or I'll stick it in my pocket. Just to have that smell and that connection. And that smell can also be really uplifting. It can be a mood shifter, so smelling our herbs. So then the name Yerba Buena, I didn't say the Latin name. It's changed. I think now it's Clinopodium douglasii, Clinopodium douglasii. But it used to be Saturaja douglasii, so you might see it both ways in books. But then the name Yerba Buena came from the Spanish explorers on the Pacific coast. It is native to the Pacific coast. And so the Spanish missionary priests in California learned that it was used for such a wide range of medicines by the native peoples that they decided to give it this name, the good plant or the good herb. So it's one of those kind of panaceas or cure-all herbs. And the Salish used it for many different things. They used it with Lomatium nuticale, which we might talk about today, to make a tea for colds. They thought it was good for blood, so many native peoples worked with herbs as blood tonics or blood purifiers. That kind of is an association as an alterative or just a tonic herb where it might help to normalize many conditions in the body. It was also used for upset stomach and to treat colds and flus. So we talked a little bit today about carminative herbs. So the mint family, those aromatic herbs tend to be carminative, so they tend to work with digestive issues, especially after eating foods. And then herbs that are high in volatile oils, like the mints, are excreted through the lungs, so can be used for colds and flus and bronchial ailments. Yerba Buena can also help to reduce fever and encourage sweating, so it's a diaphoretic herbs, meaning that it promotes sweating. And it's also antimicrobial and anti-inflammatory, has some mild pain relieving properties. And Cecilia Garcia, who I mentioned earlier, talks about it in her book for diarrhea and even parasitic worm infections, like tapeworm, as well as insomnia, urinary tract problems, and to promote menstruation or menstrual cramps. I don't know too much about those usages. They might be from her tribe's traditions or her use in her practice. So it really has a mild, nice flavor. We made a tea last time where I found that decocting it tastes really good. So I basically bring it to a boil and then simmer it for like 15 minutes to an hour. And it makes this real rich, nourishing infusion that's really pleasant. That's not what most people do with it. Most people will just make a tea, but I find the tea tastes like dirt. And for a while I thought it was the herbs. The harvesting still had dirt on them, but I think it's just something in the plant makes it taste like dirt. But when you do a decoction, it doesn't taste like dirt. But you could combine it with something like hibiscus for a nice summertime tea. It really is a pleasant, mild herb to work with on a regular basis. And I just leave it. I have a cast iron teapot with a little infuser. You can buy these Japanese teapots that are really nice. And since I have a wood fire stove, I'll keep herb teas like that just heating on the stove to make kind of a decoction.
Can you go over once again what a decoction is?
So it's just cooking the herbs. So you often do it with roots, where you put the herb in cold water, bring it to a boil, and then once it hits a boil, just bring it down to a simmer, like we did with the bitters today.
Okay, and for an extended period of time, just letting it simmer.
Yeah, usually no more than an hour.
Okay.
Probably minimum 15 minutes, depending on the plant. But that's a way. Usually, you get more minerals out, or you do it with like roots, tough things that you're having a tough time extracting the material out of.
Rather than pouring hot water over it, like making it like you would a tea.
Right.
You're cooking it from start.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So things like Carrie, you and I had talked about chaga mushroom, which is really woody and hard to break down. Oregon grape is a great one to do a decoction with. And you can often apply new water to those two plants, and then keep getting more and more extracted. So that's it. There's not much information on this plant, but interestingly, the city of San Francisco used to be called Yerba Buena. Until 1847 they changed it. So this herb was such a big deal to native peoples and the Spanish explorers who showed up later that they had initially named the city after it.